that feeling when you really should be tackling that overflowing inbox or maybe finally hitting the gym, but instead you're 3 hours deep into scrolling social media? Yeah, we have all been there. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are decoding the actual psychology behind why we put things off. But more importantly, we are unpacking a scientifically proven life hack for instant willpower. By the end of this, you're going to know exactly how to turn your absolute biggest distractions into your ultimate productivity engine. Let's dive in. To kick things off, let me throw a wild question at you. How on earth can binge watching Netflix actually make you fit? It sounds totally backwards, right? Well, meet Ronan Byrne. He was an engineering student in Dublin, and like a lot of us, Ronan hated working out. He needed to ride his stationary bike, but he vastly preferred binge watching his favorite TV shows. The temptation of the screen was constantly crushing his willpower to exercise. But then, Ronan did something incredibly genius. He decided to stop fighting his temptations and start weaponizing them. He actually hacked his stationary bike and hooked it up to his laptop. He wrote a custom program where Netflix would only play if he kept pedaling at a specific minimum speed. If he slacked off or stopped entirely, the show instantly paused. He literally had to earn his entertainment, like a little stick man pedaling for his life just to keep the TV on. As one fan famously put it, he was eliminating obesity one Netflix binge at a time. And honestly, this wasn't just some clever DIY engineering trick, it was an absolute masterclass in behavioral psychology. Section 1. The Science of Procrastination. To see why Ronan's bike hack worked so perfectly, we gotta look under the hood of our brains. Why is doing what's good for us so incredibly hard? Well, research shows that 40 to 45% of our daily actions aren't conscious choices at all. They're automated habits. Charles Duhigg calls this the habit loop, a basic repeating cycle of cue, routine, and reward. You see, our brains are essentially lazy. They are wired for extreme efficiency. When you encounter a cue, your brain flips on autopilot to get a reward. This actually shifts control completely away from the logical, decision-making part of your brain and defaults to prioritizing an immediate dopamine hit to save energy. Which brings us to a concept called temporal motivation theory, or TMT. This was developed by researchers Piers Steele and Cornelius J. Koenig, and it gives us a literal, mathematical formula for motivation. The absolute biggest deal breaker in this formula: delay. The theory proves that the further away a reward is in the future, the less motivated we feel to act on it right now. We massively undervalue future rewards. Psychologists call this hyperbolic discounting. So, that strong, healthy heart you'll get in 10 years from exercising today, your brain does not care. It just wants the immediate comfort of sitting on the couch right this second. So, we've got this constant war zone inside our heads. In one corner, you have immediate rewards. Think social media, junk food, TV. They offer a massive spike in dopamine with almost zero friction or effort. In the other corner, delayed gratification. Studying, working out, budgeting. These require a ton of effort, super high friction, and offer practically zero immediate dopamine. When these two go head-to-head, the high dopamine, low friction option is going to win almost every single time. And brute force willpower alone, it usually just isn't enough to bridge that gap. Section 2. The strategy: temptation bundling. So, how do we cheat the system? Well, researcher Catherine Milkman popularized this incredible behavioral strategy called temptation bundling. But the psychological engine behind it is actually decades old. It's known as Premack's principle, named after Professor David Premack. His rule is incredibly simple. More probable behaviors will reinforce less probable behaviors. Translated into plain English, a probable behavior is a guilty pleasure you actually want to do, like eating a cookie. A less probable behavior is a chore you actively avoid, like doing the dishes. Premack proved that you can use your guilty pleasures to actively train yourself to complete the hard stuff. This is not a gimmick. This is foundational behavioral science. Picture this for a second. Imagine happily getting a foot pedicure while actively typing away on your laptop, crushing your work. That is temptation bundling in action. You are directly hijacking the reward component of your habit loop. You take a high-friction, stressful task, like finally tackling that overflowing inbox, and you bundle it with an immediate, high-dopamine reward, like a relaxing pedicure. Because you get that reward instantly, your brain totally stops fighting the friction of the work. You actually kind of start looking forward to the task because of what it's glued to. Let's rapidly run through some everyday examples of how people pull this off. Say you love a thrilling audiobook or a true crime podcast. Make a hard rule that you can only listen to it while you're out pounding the pavement on a run. Or tell yourself you only get to watch that trashy reality show you're obsessed with while you are ironing clothes or doing the dishes. Have a monthly meeting with a highly difficult colleague that you just dread? Schedule it at your absolute favorite burger joint. Suddenly, you are pumped for the meeting because you get the burger. You're seamlessly mashing up high dopamine want-to-do behaviors with high-friction should-do behaviors. Section 3. Build your own bundle.
All right, let's turn this theory into a concrete tool you can use the second this explainer ends. Creating a custom temptation bundle requires 3 super simple steps. First, brainstorm your guilty pleasures. What do you instantly reach for when you're procrastinating? Second, list your avoided tasks, those important, annoying chores you keep dodging. And third, the magic step. You link them. You create a non-negotiable rule that you only get the pleasure while you are doing the task.
Seriously, grab a piece of paper and make a 2-column list. In column 1, write your want-to-do list. Stuff like listening to your favorite podcast, checking social media, or drinking an overly expensive latte. In column 2, write your need-to-do list. Exercising, clearing out emails, paying the bills. Take a second to really map these out. Then just draw a line connecting one thing in column 1 to an item in column 2. Linking these columns effectively turns your dreaded obligations into things you actually get excited about. Crazy, right?
Now, if you really want to take this to the next level, combine this bundle with a concept called habit stacking, popularized by James Clear. Here is the formula. Step 1. After my current daily habit, I will do the habit I need. Step 2. After the habit I need, I will do the habit I want. So for example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will say one thing I'm grateful for. And after I say what I'm grateful for, then I will read the sports news. You are basically sandwiching the tough task right between an automatic routine and an instant reward, creating a practically unbreakable daily chain. So we have decoded the brain's lazy wiring, the trap of delayed rewards, and how to hack our own dopamine loops using Premack's principle. The huge takeaway here? Temptation bundling proves that you don't need superhuman, ironclad willpower to achieve your goals. You just need a smarter strategy. It is time to stop feeling guilty about your temptations and start putting them to work for you. I'll leave you with this one final thought to chew on. What guilty pleasure is going to fuel your next big success? Sketch out your bundle today and watch your procrastination just melt away. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.